Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Living Astrology and Choose Big Change. AstroInklings. I think we have to name this something different, Tam,
Well,
because I
yeah,
always say, welcome to Living Astrology, but today is Living Astrology with
it,
AstroInklings.
it's an Astro Inklings report. You're with Tam Veilleux. That's me.
I am with Tam Veilleux. That is you. And welcome. And hopefully today you don't lose electricity
Oh my
or
gosh.
have your internet go out or anything like that.
We have to talk about that story for those who are coming on the call really quickly. Janet and I were doing the Uranus in Gemini event last week. And we were talking about Uranus as the great disruptor, revelatory and, sudden bits of information in Gemini communication, right? Boom, don't you know, power went out right in the middle of the conversation. I literally threw my head back and laughed out loud. I couldn't believe it. And I walked away. I didn't even try to get back on the computer. I had no power for 20 minutes.
Yeah. And from my part, I was like, oh, well, Tam's gone. Okay. And I continue talking, but then forget that I'm not the one that had the slides up. You were. And so
Oh,
I had to stop to get the slides up. And it was just funny.
oh, it was funny.
We just have to laugh. And what else is a good Uranus story than the west coast of the United States being hit by a tsunami?
Right.
And I living on the coast up until just July 1st, really, was so pleased that I moved inland, except that the city that I live in, Cedar-Woolley is the name of the town, was also included in the tsunami alert. So my phone's going crazy. I'm getting phone calls from the Department of Emergency Management. I'm getting phone calls from the Skagit County Emergency Management telling us all about this tsunami. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Totally out of left field. I mean, it was a huge earthquake. Granted, it was like the sixth largest ever recorded.
I read it as an 8.7. Like that's
Yeah, but
big.
they changed it to 8.8.
Oh my gosh.
So,
Unbelievable.
every number that goes up, so the point 0.7 to the point 0.8 is like 10 times greater than the number below it. So
Oh,
those
so
numbers
scary.
are very logarithmic. I mean, they
Yeah.
add a lot of boom to the
For
to
real,
the
prayers to everybody involved, prayers to everybody
yeah.
who's had to evacuate. My heart is with those people. Phew.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So poor Japan and Hawaii and Northern California always seems to get the tsunami hit bigger than, say, a Washington or Oregon. I mean,
Oh,
we had, a smaller one compared to theirs, and I mean, crazy, crazy times that we live in. Let's
oh,
just hope. Let's
speaking of crazy, let's talk about August because there's some stuff to cover. August is going to be hot.
August is hot, 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 hot. August is one of those months that you hear from other astrologers all about a lot of negativity around August, and that really
Oh,
irks me.
oh.
Um, but there are some very big things going on that could turn out to be challenging. So this morning we're going to be talking about all of the different things that are important, but there's like two or three major things that are going on that I think we need to focus on. And one of them being Mars's move into Libra, which is on the 6th of August. And I'm just giving the bigger picture at this moment. We'll come back to the details, guys. And Mars in Libra is totally not a happy camper. I mean, it is not his jam. And the full moon in Aquarius, like, just blows my mind. Mars in a trine to Pluto. So we're going to see a lot of Martian energy this month. Venus conjunct Jupiter is the zen of the whole thing.
Ah,
We deserve this. And then we have the new moon, which is also the day after the sun moves into Virgo. And then the biggest news, I forgot one last thing. The whole last week of August is all about Venus. So Venus, Venus, Venus doing everything she can to try to beautify, harmonize, make peace, be diplomatic. But the biggest news of the entire month, and indeed maybe the even entire summer, is the kite configuration that is activated from like even about right now, but technically August 1st through the 15th. That includes Mars, Saturn and Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto. So we have all of these outer planets involved with an inner planet, Mars, that can be a catalyst for all kinds of crazy stuff. So crazy's in the building or crazy's on the bus, however you want to look at it. And that is the thrust basically of the month of August. Although we did notice a yod also toward the end of the month. So after the kite figuration wanes, we end up with a yod pointed at the sun, with the base planets being Uranus and Gemini, or Uranus and Gemini and Pluto and Aquarius. So
Right.
crazy is still on the bus.
Woo! Are you
I know.
ready?
I'm ready. So we launch into the month of August on Friday with Venus in a square to the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. And those times of the squares are always kind of interesting to me. And it's because they create this tension that is, begging us to do something about it. Actually, I'm going to put up our calendar if that's cool. I'm going to add
Great
that
idea.
to the stage.
Yeah.
And let me make my screen bigger then so I can see it. And those squares, they're not designed to, be ugly or harm us, but challenge us. Right?
Challenging.
So we're being challenged with Venus being the planet of harmony, beauty, peace, and all of that. And in a way, she is creating, this kind of stirring of the pot with Neptune and Saturn, who are in Aries, who are all about this sovereignty, right? This word has been bandied about all year long.
Mhm.
And, some people take sovereignty to this nth degree. I can do whatever I want,
Yeah.
and you can't tell me no. Or I can be whoever I want. I can use as many resources as I want, and you
Mhm.
can't tell me no, which is way at the other end of the spectrum, which is meant to be about I can be my independent self. I can
Mm.
contribute my personal viewpoints and opinions or works to the world.
Mhm.
And I can do so without worry or fear that someone else is going to tell me I'm wrong or I'm not right or, I shouldn't say that kind of thing. So it's an interesting square, don't you think? On
Yeah.
one hand, the keeping it harmonized and beautified, and on the other hand, this, I can do and be whoever I want to be, and
Mhm.
I can do and, do all these things. So, Venus and Saturn here, Venus squaring Saturn can bring up feelings for us of isolation, maybe even of emotional distance, uh,
Mm.
or financial stress.
Mm.
Don't forget that
Oh,
one because
there you
Venus
go.
rules finances.
Mhm.
And it feels maybe like to some people, it might feel like something's being withheld, like something's being held back from you. So it's asking you to define your values more clearly. Then the gates open wide. But then Venus squaring Neptune is the cloud, right? It clouds all of the emotions. It makes it hard to see. And it means that we might be emotionally judgmental of both ourselves and others. So we have emotional reality checks going on here because Venus is in Cancer,
Right.
right? The sign of emotional responsiveness and hopefully not reactiveness. We have provocation in there. We have Venus at the world point, we call it, right? She's
Mm.
crossed into this world point. So it's some kind of reality check on the bigger scale. Anything you
Ooh.
want to add to that one?
No, I love that, a reality check on the at a bigger scale, and that feels appropriate for what's going on right now, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, what a reality check an 8.8 earthquake can have on coastlines around the
Wow.
Pacific who
Right.
are not ready for some kind of major inundation. And I think we got away with it pretty easily this time, but it
Mhm.
should be, telling us something.
Yeah.
Prepare.
Okay.
Be- anyway, so the next, is there something else after that you want to talk about? Because I know
Nope, nope, that's what I had to. Yep.
okay, so I am going to take this one off the screen for just a minute because I have something funny that I want to show everybody. The next big thing on our list is Mars moving into Libra. And astro lesson here. A planet that moves into the sign opposite of the one it rules is called detriment. The planet becomes debilitated. And Mars, moving into Libra on August 6th, becomes debilitated because he rules Aries, which is the sign just across from Libra. So we have a Mars that is uncomfortable. And this is what it looks like. This warrior god in the middle of a social gathering, in the middle of a group of people. Like he's like out of place. He's out of time. He doesn't fit. So I thought this was so amusing, right? So perfect to tell us all about what Mars in Libra feels like or looks like. And
Yeah,
he
fish
kind
out of
of does,
water,
yeah,
right?
because he kind of looks like shit. Where did I land?
Yeah.
Like I came through some time portal. Where am I?
What am I doing here?
How did I get here? And the funny thing about it is that, while he's uncomfortable in his detriment, it means that direct action by Mars is muted somewhat. So all of that warrior energy has to go through the filter of diplomacy or peacefulness or, building collaborations and cooperation and co-creation, right? He can't just be that sovereign, I want, I get, and I get it when I want it. He has to slow down his role. And he's asked to weigh perspectives here. So Mars, who does not like to be slowed down, um, needs to negotiate or even delay, taking action. And assertiveness, the Martian way, might actually come through passive aggression as opposed to direct, action. And over confrontation, like going over the top because you're feeling like I can't get my message across.
Mm.
So being careful during Mars in Libra is going to be the name of the game here. Tam, you left us. Oh no. Oh no. Oh, okay. Something's going on in the background. So be very aware, everyone, that Mars in Libra through the rest of the month of August is really going to be a little bit of a battle between assertiveness and negotiation or peaceful collaboration. And sometimes that's easier than others, right? Definitely not as easy. I thought you ditched me.
That was not a power outage.
That was not a power outage. That's awesome. All right. So any questions, people, please go ahead and put those in the chat. If you want to know, how Mars is going to affect you, look to your astrology chart and find where Libra is holding space. That house is where the negotiation energy becomes very imperative for your success through the month. All right. So let me go back to our calendar and take Mars off the stage as much as he doesn't want to be removed.
Mm.
Okay. So then in between Mars moving into Libra, we have Mars that comes into a trine with Uranus. That'll be on the 9th, or excuse me, the 8th. And, Mars in Libra in a trine to Uranus and Gemini seems very mind oriented.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, technology even or information. And a trine is a smooth flow of this information back and forth. It can sometimes lead to overload, right? And it can be an overload of misinformation. It can
Mm.
be an overload of excitement, an
Yeah.
overload of, danger or bad news kind of thing. But it can also be us striking this balance between our minds and the allowed amount of information that we bring in.
Mm.
Yeah. And then that same day, doesn't it look like Mars is also in an opposition to Saturn and
Saturn.
Neptune,
Yep.
right? That one gets a little trickier, right? Because, the opposition means you're going to hit resistance. The opposition is two things pulling in different directions. And there might be it could be real or imagined opposition.
Right.
It's not always real clear what that opposition is gonna be, but there's tension between idealism in the, Gemini, in the air sign generally, speaking, and the fire sign as well. There's, impulse versus limitation.
Mhm.
There's feeling like driving with one foot on the brake and one foot on the gas that day.
So I have my own notes on that, and I wondered if Uranus might come and sort of drop the bomb, information that comes in, and you're like, should I do it? You know what I mean? Like you said, one on the gas and one on the brake. That's what I
Mhm.
thought. Like maybe Uranus is going to come and bring that information.
It could be quite surprising, right?
Right. Surprise.
Because I mean, there's been a lot of things this month information-wise that comes out that's pretty surprising,
Right.
and,
Right.
you don't expect it to be the story that lights up the whole of the news cycle, and then yet there it is, or you think the story's dead or gone or solved, and here we go, it's back again. So, it could be very interesting in all of this, and
Mm,
yet we sort of have to take this in the context of this bigger kite configuration
yeah.
that is occurring. So I think what I'm going to do is bring up the chart of the full moon, because the full moon happens that very next day. And that full moon is in Aquarius.
Mhm.
And in it, we see the kite.
Mhm.
All right. So let me get this changed over here for everybody. And if you can check the chat, see if anybody's got questions or.
Yes, I'm doing that, flashing the energy almanac at the
Uh
same
huh. Good job.
time.
All right. All right. So here's our beautiful kite.
Yeah.
And I'm going to break this down because it's a configuration, of course, that is, I always thought, I always had the concept that the kite was a smooth flow of energy all around it, right? Because it's made up of trines. You see the grand trine here between Uranus, Pluto, and Mars, right? A grand trine in air. You see the minor grand trine between Uranus and the Saturn Neptune conjunction and Pluto, right? Nice grand trine made up of sextiles and a trine. But the kite always has a crossbow and the spine, and the spine is between Mars and the Neptune Saturn conjunction, and it splits the good energy up,
Mm.
which is what the part is that I was missing before. Looking at a kite, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, this is great," except that it makes it more difficult to utilize the really harmonious energies of the sextiles, the ease and flow of the trine, because it's being split in half by an opposition. And this kite configuration then can sometimes be very challenging and can show up in a way that is, you know, causing us a lot of tension, right?
Mm.
So Mars down here, I can't tell if you guys can see my cursor rolling around, but if you
No,
can't, it's at the
no.
bottom. So Mars is the one that is lighting up this kite pattern, right?
Yeah.
Because it's moved into this position to kind of hold this space for a long time, actually, in terms of patterns like this. 15 days of the month, half of the month literally is lit up by this.
Mhm.
And there's an urgency that gets added to the energy, and it's maybe the urgency to the collective story that's unfolding through Pluto and Aquarius,
Mm.
through Uranus and
Saturn.
Gemini,
Mhm.
through Saturn and Neptune and Aries,
Mhm.
right? These outer planets that are setting the tone for the story collectively, culturally, socially. And we're being invited to direct our personal energy because Mars is the only personal planet involved here.
Mm.
And we're being asked to, direct it in the service of innovation, or in creating freedom or meaningful systemic change, without bypassing the emotional or the structural complexity of the whole deal, because you can't ignore the elephants in the room, right?
Oh, so let's stop right there for a second. So wouldn't we say that we are being asked to make peaceful, smart, negotiated movement toward the innovation, toward the changes that are being made to the collective? Yes?
Yes, that's what we're being asked. And we're being asked to do that in a non-compromising way. And what I mean by non-compromising isn't that, you and I can't, negotiate and come to some kind of, agreed upon solution. But compromising is when you just capitulate, right? When you give up your position in the face of somebody that's stronger, or has more money, or has more influence than you, right? So the wrong kind of compromise. Um, and the good kind of compromise, though, takes us into the ability to solve problems, to
Mm-hmm.
find solutions
Mm-hmm.
that have been hitherto unknown, right? That we've
Right.
never thought of before. So that takes us into the full moon on August 9th, where this kite configuration kind of comes to its like pinnacle. And the full moon is also shown here in the orange line, connecting the sun in an opposition to the moon, sun in Leo opposing the moon in Aquarius. But I also want you to look at the bottom of the screen here where this grid is. This grid tells us how all the planets play together and their relationships to one another. Note the two orange lines going down from the sun and the moon. They are literally not playing with anybody. It's like the kite configuration has overtaken the entire chart. And the symbol, I always like to go to the Sabian symbols. Do you use those at all, Tam?
No, I don't use those at all. There's those are next level. That's a Janet thing.
That's a Janet thing. Um, the Sabian symbols assign each degree of the zodiac a meaning, right? Or a symbol or a picture or something that you can kind of wrap your head around. And the Sabian symbol for this 17-degree Aquarius or Aquarius Leo full moon is a man being unmasked at a masquerade, which means the theme of this full moon really becomes about
Ooh,
truth revealed,
right?
masks removed,
Ooh,
purpose revealed. And this full moon then arrives like this very big spotlight, illuminating truths that have long been hidden beneath polished personas or projections or social masks. And the
wow.
Sabian symbol evokes this image of someone who's being unmasked at the masquerade, right? Their mask falls
Ooh.
off or someone pulls it off and
How
they're
many
being revealed.
times have you heard you're watching a movie? This is central casting. Let's see what gets unmasked. That will be fascinating. I love that.
Indeed.
That's probably the first time that a Sabian symbol has made any sense to me. I find them so ethereal. I just can't wrap my head around them, but this I can. This
I
I
love
really
them. I
can.
love them. I love them. So this is the moment when secrets slip out, when the facades fail, and when someone is revealed for who they truly are. Now, that can be a good thing, right? If you're somebody that's been masquerading as somebody that's in the dark or hidden, this might be the time when you break out or break into, your most beautiful, lightful self. So this lunation, this full moon is not about superficial illumination. This isn't just like turn the spotlight on so I could find my keys and then turn it back off. It's about piercing through illusion and recognizing what's authentic in yourself and others, right? It's not always just about the self here. And
No.
whether there's a hidden motive, a surprising truth, or a long held identity that, no longer fits you, this full moon dares you to look beneath the surface, raise the lid, look inside. And yet, the moon and the sun make no major planetary connections to one another. Some minor things, but nothing major. Because instead of the moon being the star of the show, it's the sky itself being the star through the character of the kite configuration that we see here. Pluto in Aquarius, Uranus in Gemini. Saturn and Neptune in Aries, and Mars in Libra as this energetic spine that splits the
Mm,
kite in half.
mm,
And this pattern is now today, or starting what the first is on Friday,
mhm,
starting now, right? It's exact, it's fully alive and living out in our world. And it's channeling some tremendous collective energy into some forward motion.
mm.
But here's the couple of scary things about it.
Uh-oh.
That
You use the word scary? Okay.
scary because there are some charts of events like the birth of the atomic bomb that are being hit fundamentally sharply during this period of time. So expect to hear some kind of nuclear news or issues around that whole thing to do with nuclear weapons, nuclear accidents, things like that. And the other chart that it hits very tightly is the chart of Israel and Iran. And
Mhm.
there is already been issues between those two, posturing and,
Yeah. Ooh.
bombing each other, sending, missiles and things like that. So that's the scary stuff in this outer world that can be at play. And we just have to be able to move through with holding space for peace, holding space for negotiation, compromise in the good sense of compromise,
Mm,
that, these people will, in the last moments, return to sanity.
mm.
And in a way, it's like this full moon really pulls back this curtain. If you think of the Wizard of Oz and the
Right.
curtain and what's behind it gets revealed, and it
Mhm.
turns out it was just a man,
Yep.
right? It wasn't this like giant or monster. It was just a man. And what we see is the architecture of new destiny being formed right before our very eyes,
Mm,
right?
mm. Ooh, this is so interesting. And obviously there's plenty going on collectively for us to like watch for. And I'm going back to like, how can we bring this back home for a minute and talk about revealing our own, taking off our own masks, right?
Hmm.
And that's what I would really encourage people toward is, how have you been showing up and who is the real you? And can you clear that? Can you move beyond, right? Because
Yeah.
that's the energy of removing the mask. And I think it's important at to as a contribution to the collective, as you be more authentic. Of course, we have all this Aries energy in play, right? And this is who I am, the sovereign me, and this is who I really am, the authentic me. I think it adds to the collective and the architecture that's being built.
Yeah, and I think maybe if we changed the word sovereign, which holds so much baggage, to the empowered you,
Mm-hmm.
that would fit here.
Mm.
Now, I don't want everybody to go away thinking this full moon is something to be afraid of, because there
No.
is some really beautiful stuff going on here as well. Because if you look in Cancer, we still have the Venus Jupiter conjunction in orb, right?
Mm.
It's not quite connected yet. Venus is at 10 degrees, Jupiter at 13. So we're coming into that conjunction.
Mm-hmm.
So it softens the edges of this whole play,
Mm-hmm.
kind of with emotional abundance and with some heartfelt generosity, perhaps. But it can also heighten our sensitivity to the emotion, maybe the betrayal of someone that we looked up to, or the emotional manipulation that we're seeing happening out there, especially if the mask drops and what it reveals are some
Mm.
hard truths for us.
Oh, that's
So,
interesting.
yeah.
Yes.
So a
Good call.
double-edged sword here, it can soften those edges and soften the impact, but it is also sitting in a configuration that forces us to look at the hard truths. So
Mm.
it's there. The lunar nodes are also sitting at 18 of their relative signs, north node in Virgo, or north node in Pisces, south node in Virgo. And that is a subtle sort of connection between the sun and the moon, right, during this period of time. They're minor aspects. And I asked the program to only show me the major aspects. So unfortunately, it's not really showing here, except if you realize that the 17-degree full moon, sun and moon at 17 and the nodes at 18 degrees are within orb of one another, right? So as I looked at that, I thought, okay, the The whole Virgo Pisces axis is about our releasing victim energy, savior energy, martyr energy, right? That's such an old paradigm,
So old.
so old and so beyond its usefulness, right?
Yeah.
The North Node's movement toward Pisces is all about embracing our divine heritage, the
Yes.
fact that we are co creators of this reality that we're living in. And if you're seeing war and conflict and all of that outside, it really stems from the inside, the heart of humanity.
Yes.
And our job is to heal that within us. That's what that North Node is all about, using unconditional love, universal love, God energy, source energy, truth as our guiding light, right? As our way to get through all of this. And leaving behind the South Node Virgo energy, which is really more about how sometimes the energy of service got played into slavery or slave like energy. So
Mm.
we're sacrifice energy.
Hmm.
And yet here we are increasing our soul's growth during the same period of time because of this nodal axis. And then finally, I wanted to take a look at this in human design. Where is the moon going to be?
Ooh.
And in a full moon in human design, in astrology as well, the moon is conjunct the earth, right? That's how that would play out. If we were looking at it from the sun would see, oh, the moon and earth are in a conjunction. And they are in a conjunction at the gate 13, which is called the gate of the narrative and the gate of the listener. And it's the keeper of stories kind of gate. And it's the archivist of memory. And it's a deeply receptive energy, and it's one that holds space for the past to inform the future, but not for us to get drugged backwards into an old paradigm, right? Gate 13 really invites us to look at the story we've been telling, and is it still true? And then across the wheel, the sun will be in the gate 7, which is called the gate of collaboration.
Oh.
Right? I can't make this up. Like, this is so, like, real. And it asks us then to step into authentic and aligned leadership, not through dominance, not through
Mm.
authoritarianism, not through technocracy, not through anything except vision and integrity and the tension between the story gate 13 and the collaboration gate 7 is profound, right? Because it's telling us that the story's gone wrong, right?
Mm.
Yes, we have this past. Yes, there is a story, but we can change the story,
Mm.
right? And I don't mean change the story as make what happened not happen, as the Epstein file thing is going on right now. I mean change the story about how it is that you're telling yourself what you can be, what you can do, all of that kind of stuff is
Change the
humanity.
story in your head.
Yeah. And, together these gates are forming a storytelling axis,
Ooh.
and it's what we remember and then how we use it to guide our next steps, our collective direction. That's what counts. I hope that makes sense,
It does make sense.
right?
Wow.
So I just want to throw out some reflective questions. And
Do it.
actually,
Bring it.
I am going to post all of this up for everybody to get to. Um, Ask yourself, where in your life are you being asked to remove the mask? I think you alluded to that earlier, Tam. And is it voluntary or not? Right? Sometimes
Mm.
that mask is just ripped away. Um, what truths are rising that you can no longer ignore? And then how can you use the momentum within this kite configuration in the full moon or in the first 15 days of August to align with your deeper purpose?
Ooh.
And rather than just doing a performance for approval by your clients or your family or your friends or your community.
Ooh. That one brings shivers to me. I don't know about anybody else, but that's definitely bubbling up in my world.
Yeah.
Those are great questions, Jana. I've put them all in the chat.
Awesome. Now, I want everybody to think, in closing here with this part, I want everybody to think of Mars in this kite configuration, the only personal planet in it, to be a catalyst with a conscience. right? Libra has a conscience. It has a conscience of justice, of fairness, of equality, of tolerance and acceptance, balance. Harmony is the big key here, right? The
Mhm.
balance of the scales. So Mars in Libra can be that catalyst with a conscience. And in doing so, it becomes this engine driving this consciousness out there, right? For these 15 days, right? We have this kite that is getting ready to do this. So think about every action, every word, even that you're about to say, or conversation that you're about to have with someone. And in terms of consciousness, right? What would a conscious reaction or response be versus the knee jerk reaction? What would that be? And use Mars in Libra diplomacy as a weapon of change. If we have to have a weapon, let's use diplomacy.
Mm.
Let's use making peace, right? So rather than pushing, Mars in Libra persuades. Rather than dominating, he considers. And rather than rushing, he strategizes. And
Mm.
he meaning she, we, each as individuals, right? Mars here can become this relational warrior,
Mm.
building our relationship, one who leads not through aggression, but through harmony and justice and inclusion. He doesn't abandon the battlefield. It's not like Mars is letting go of his battle, worn garb. He's still wearing his Viking uniform, but he changes the terms, right? The fight becomes one of equity, balance, and truth. And in this kite, that's precisely what's needed. Boom.
Boom. I want you to stop right there because I want to throw a few things at you from the chat box, okay?
Okay, sure.
That was great, by the way. That was a lot of learning for everybody, including me. I'm going back to Nicole Markham, who said she has Libra in her second house. So she was thinking about the Mars in Libra and probably asking quickly, any thoughts toward that?
Mars in Libra, second house. Is that what she said?
Yes.
So, looking at where it is that you have maybe been not your own best friend in the financial arena or in the self-worth arena, because the problem with Mars is in Libra is, of course, he's debilitated. So it gives you an opportunity to see things maybe more clearly, to see, what mask perhaps you can be releasing yourself from. What facade is there about your financial health, or about what your pursuit for finances or self-worth or your value, where has your value gotten turned upside down somehow? And yet on the other side, this can be very much about being peaceful. This could be a very peaceful way of seeing yourself and your value and your self-worth, Nicole, especially because I know you and you've done a lot of work on yourself in the past years. And hopefully now you're really ready and willing to take that mask off and be your true self. That is like the best thing you could do with this.
I wondered if, I think she was talking about Mars and Libra in general, rather than like relative to the moon. But I would also, I said, I wondered if this was a period of negotiation for her.
Could be.
Right.
Especially if you have Mars and Libra in your 10th house, that's a big negotiation for your career and your profession. If you have it in the second house, as she might have it in her second house, I think that's what she said, then it could be negotiations around finances, right? Negotiating debt, negotiating credit, negotiating, how much money you make.
Right.
All of that is possible.
Here's another one for you from J-Lo. She's asking, the square is in our Lilith as a collective, and I think she's talking about the kite and the moon.
The kite and the moon. And so in the full moon, is that what you're talking about, J-Lo?
Yes. Yeah.
So if we look, let me make this bigger.
She's wondering where Lilith is in regards to the kite and the moon.
Yeah, well, the black moon Lilith is actually in Scorpio at 15 degrees. So she's not really factoring into the kite itself. But depending on where she is in your own chart, certainly she could be playing into this. She is a factor. She's the piece that gives us permission to be ourselves, right? She's in Scorpio right now. She's asking you to dig deep, to excavate the parts of you that you've hidden, that you have been ashamed of, or that, other people have shown you, that made you not acceptable. So there's a big excavation going on in each of us right now with wherever Scorpio is in the chart. In this way, you kind of give yourself radical permission to be yourself. That's what she's all about. She takes a stand, right? She says, this is it. This is me. Take it or leave it, kind of thing. I don't need to change myself to make you happy. Okay. I hope that answers her question.
I hope so too. That's what I have for you. Other than that, it's a lot of hellos. And Karen says, I wish Pluto would get off my Chiron, Uranus, Mars T-square, but it'll be years.
What's funny is that I couldn't wait until Pluto left my Saturn at 28 Saturn, or 28 Capricorn, and Pluto kept going back to that spot, and I was like, oh, it felt so heavy. It felt so like death, right?
Yeah.
And yet here I am. Now Pluto is headed to my Jupiter. That's a whole nother story.
Whoa.
So excitement there.
All right. Look, we have 20 minutes left to get through the rest of the month.
Yeah. Let me make this chart disappear and bring up our calendar.
Thank you for all that insight on the kite. I really, how do you miss this, that the kite has a spine that splits the energy? I never saw that either, for sure. I've looked at kites in charts, but that's quite something.
Yeah, but in the chart, I looked at all the blue, right? All the blue. Yeah. Ignored completely the red line indicating the opposition.
Yep.
Until I was listening to somebody talk about the kite, and I went, oh.
Yeah, right. Clunk. I wish I had a V8.
I wish I could have had a V8, right? Yeah. And if you have a kite in your own natal chart, this also can show you where a very big challenge is in your life, where all of these things, like having all these gifts and talents and all of these opportunities, but the split there with that opposition can create chaos in you being able to be those things, or to, really capitalize on those things. So now I'm rethinking the kites in my own chart, because I have them. But when I see them in other people's charts now, as I do readings, I am looking at that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Excellent.
All right. Where do we go next?
Let's mosey. Okay, so that was Jewish. That was only the 9th. Wow. So we got to kind of advance. Let's talk about the conjunction. I mean, you touched on the conjunction. Let's look at the 11th, 12th.
Okay.
Yeah, the 11th, we have the sextile between Saturn and Uranus, which has been ongoing, right?
Yes, that has been ongoing. What we do need to look at is August 11th, when Mercury turns direct.
I was just about to say that. Yeah, like,
yay.
Amen. I'll be looking to celebrating on that day. Of course, that won't clear until August 30th, I think, really, to get out of the shade. And I know for me, that shade period is rough.
The retro shade is always hard for me too, and so is the pre-shade, right? The before.
Yeah.
The Mercury in retrograde isn't usually the problem for me, but I know a lot of people have had a heck of a time with this Mercury in retrograde, and I think likely that's because it's been in Leo, where it goes right to the heart, right, right to the inner you and your ability to be expressive, to live your life with your full expression.
Yeah.
So when it turns direct at 4 degrees of Leo, because it stays in Leo this whole time, hopefully you now have a wave of clarity and vision, that's awakened within you, that you can then, do a mental recalibration. And then as this next, 3 weeks after that unfolds and the shadow of the Mercury retrograde wanes, then you can start to emerge in leadership roles, or, with the courage to share your truth, and inspired by, being your authentic self. So that's the high side, I think, of Mercury coming out of this retrograde. And then also on the 11th, we have the Saturn-Neptune sextile to Uranus in Gemini. Sextiles are harmonizing. They usually work pretty well, but this is a slow-moving sextile, which means it's part of a larger cycle. It's part of this minor grand trine that is activated from now through, say, 2028, off and on. Different planets, as they move, coming back to the same, configuration. And the Saturn and Neptune conjunction here are the dream and the discipline in this sextile. They're the structure and the surrender to this higher power, right? The structure being built. And Uranus being the innovator, the unexpected, throw out the apple of discord kind of thing, the awakener, the disruptor, right? So expect that, while it's a supportive sextile, we may still have to face some realistic ideas of how we want to innovate our lives, how we want to be our true selves, dreams that can be built. That's what we're after. Ideas that can be activated, systems that can evolve, not trying to rebuild the old, but taking and looking at what we have and what can evolve. And it whispers that change doesn't have to be chaotic. It can be graceful. It can even be elegant, but we have to be willing to be we have to be willing to take those steps, right? To take that next step.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, it all gets easier on August 12th.
Yes, I know. Venus conjunct Jupiter in Cancer, right? I love this. We should have a feel-good day that day. Like mark that one in green, Astro Tribe, because that's the day that we can feel good. Maybe just like take a deep breath that day, right?
Yeah. It's funny because it's marked in red on my Astro calendar here, which is like totally upside down, I think.
No.
But, this is a beautiful, heart expanding energy.
Yes.
And it's a moment, right, where your heart can just glow. And, these are the two benefics. And when they meet in Cancer, the focus is on emotional abundance, on nurturing, on connection to what feels like home, what feels like a solid foundation. So it's a chance to amplify love and beauty and trust, right? It's a beautiful energy. So the themes might be financial or relationship oriented. It could be a return to what truly matters or what truly nourishes you, what really truly makes you feel lit up. It could be about emotional generosity and emotional healing. And this is a time to let yourself feel good and open wide, to receive abundance.
I think just nobody call me that day. I'm going to take a staycation, stay home to be present, to enjoy the emotional and hopefully financial abundance. How about that? Sound good?
I think that's great. And it comes at the beginning of the week. So really, like we're being infused with that as we go into our work week, because Monday is the, Mercury Direct day. And then Tuesday becomes the Venus conjunct Jupiter. And then it takes time for it to wane. So we have it activated. We literally had it activated at the full moon on the 9th. It just wasn't exact yet. Right. So it is like the beautiful, I want to say it's the lipstick on the pig.
Right? Oh, good one. Yeah.
But, I don't want to think of it in the negative terms. The connotation of the lipstick on the pig is it's false, it's fake, or it's, going to go away.
Janet, we should jump to the 23rd and talk about the moon. We only have not much time left.
Okay. So we're jumping to the new moon then.
Yeah, we should talk to the new moon at 0 degrees Virgo.
Let's do that. I'm going to add that to the stage now, and then everybody can see this new moon, which to me, this new moon on the 23rd is, it's a signal that I think becomes new beginnings, because that week in human design, the Jupiter enters the gate 53. And the gate 53 Jupiter is all about how are we going to grow, right? It gives us this direction of where to start. And it's really about seeding this long-term vision that we might have about where we want to go, who we want to be, the growth of our collective, etc. But we also have some other changes going on behind the scenes leading up to this new moon, and Pluto is also changing gates that week. He goes backward because he's Pluto, or he's retrograde right now. He retrogrades back out of imagination and into conservation. So he's the limiter in all of this energy as we go through the rest of the year, actually, right? So he's honoring natural limits and structures and cycles. That sounds pretty Virgoan, even though it's not Virgo per se, right? It doesn't suppress growth, right? It is about channeling it in the right, veins, and what structures need to change in order to support that growth. Well, then the very next day and a half later, the sun enters into Virgo. And that sets the stage then for this, time of year after the Leo drama. Then
Mm,
Virgo sort of focuses on refinement and integrity and devotion to what matters and path of service and our well being and all of that. So it's a season that becomes about sacred service. How do we share of ourselves? Where healing can happen. And um, all of that happening through order or ritual or organization and alignment, but not just plain old alignment, but alignment with your core truths.
yeah.
Now then we go into this Virgo new moon that occurs at 2:06 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time on the 23rd, 6:06 a.m. UTC. And actually then is happening, if I go back 3 hours, that'd be 1, 12, 11 p.m. on the 22nd for those of us on the West Coast. So it's a bridge kind of new moon. And this one also has a very interesting Sabian symbol attached to it. And here's what it says. In a portrait, the best of a person's traits and character are idealized. So the theme of this particular new moon becomes about image, becomes about integrity, truth, also intimacy, right? The real true you falling into that innermost intimate spot. Interesting because the gate 59 in human design is called the gate of intimacy and is backing up this particular new moon. And this new moon kind of initiates this Virgo season with a sharp edged invitation about who are you becoming and how sustainable is the image that you're projecting. Are you
Wow.
projecting a false front, a false image? Is
That
it
sounds very reminiscent of the Aquarius removal of the mask. This
exactly?
is perfect.
It's like this theme is running through the whole of this month. Everything seems to be into service of being your true self, really bringing that out. And and the Sabian symbol here tells a more complex story about this because it's one about idealized portraits. Like when we go get our pictures taken, we put on makeup, we do our hair, we put new clothes on, or we, try to look our best so that the picture that's portrayed, the final photo, is an idealized version of who we are.
Yep.
Right? But when you get home from that picture, down comes the hair or up goes the hair, depending. Um, Off go those clothes and on go the jeans and the t-shirts and the, sloppy flops, flip flops or whatever, right? The real you is not the idealized portrait of you, which
Right.
is the thing that we're being asked to take a look at, right? The curated projection of who we are versus the truth of who we are, the false, mask. So this is the image, of course, that you want others to see, but is it also who you are?
Mm.
Hmm. Hmm. So the new moon is asking us to balance this, what we show to others with what's really real, right? Let your becoming the real you be rooted in truth, not in a fake performance. And by all means, if you're going to have a photo or a portrait taken, feel free to dress up, but let the smile be yours, right? Not some fake smile you would put on. Let the joyful part of you show, right? That's kind of the thing. But there are some, tangled aspects. If you look, the kite is still here.
That's what I
Um,
saw first. Yeah.
yeah, but Mars has moved to 10 degrees, so it's just barely an orb, right? It's like
Mm.
it's moving away. So the kite is losing its bang, right? The I was going to say the work has already been done with this. But the minor grand trine is still active and it's still humming. This is this background energy, this structure of long term transformation that we have with us until 2028, maybe even a little bit in 2028. And it's Pluto, it's Uranus, it's Saturn and Neptune. They're still shaping the future's architecture here.
Mm.
So every lunation will have this in it. Every chart that we draw up will have this minor grand trine. And yet, this moon also has a square to Uranus. If you see down here highlighted in yellow is the sun and the moon in their conjunction. And Uranus is up there in Gemini at only 1 degree. So that's a square to Virgo.
Mm,
Interesting that Virgo and Gemini square one another when they both hold Mercury as their rulers.
right.
It's a
Yikes.
fascinating thing to me. It always blows me away. But this can bring, with the new moon and its newness, it can birth maybe some sudden clarity about something in your life.
Mm.
Maybe some nervous energy bringing something up to the surface as well. So if you're feeling
Nervous
nervous,
energy. Nervous energy. That's exactly the Gemini Virgo square in my mind.
yes,
Very, yep.
jittery,
Jittery.
high
Yes.
strung, right? I got to
Yeah.
get this done.
Yeah.
Gemini's changing its mind all the time. Shit, what am I going to do now? Right? But there's also disruption to your carefully laid plans. So watch for a little bit of upheaval with that new moon. And of course, the new moon is activated until the next new moon. So we really have, this almost 28-day cycle of possible disruption. And it could bring a flash of truth, right? This sudden thing that shatters the illusions that we've held, whether collectively or personally. But ultimately, it realigns us, right? It's not harmful in that, let me do my best to make you, upset. It's about doing some good things. Also hidden in this new moon are two inconjuncts or quincunxes, and one is an inconjunct from to Pluto, the new moon to Pluto, and that's inner pressure that we all feel to evolve. Continual inner pressure, feeling it, building, feeling it deeply within. But it is the power of transformation that may feel uncomfortable, right? It's the I know I got to do this. Um, but inconjuncts are awkward. So those steps that the transformation can feel awkward, can feel like, you know, this isn't me. Just go with it, right? You have to go with this. The other inconjunct is from the Sun Moon conjunction to Saturn and Neptune and Aries, right? These same characters keep popping up in all of these conversations, Tam,
Absolutely.
right? They do. And this can be confusion between ideal and reality. What is real versus what is ideal? Neptune and Saturn together in an inconjunct to the new moon. So we may struggle to reconcile our dream with what's practical, right? Or your drive with your sensitivity. So there's, questions that are very similar to the full moon in that what outdated structures must be surrendered? What do I
Mm,
have to let go of in order to move forward?
mm.
What future truths are pressuring you to evolve? And as well, are you willing to revise the story that you've been telling about yourself?
Oh, the stories again.
Mhm. The human design lens of this is at gate 59, as I said, the gate that's sometimes called intimacy, but also in quantum human design, this is the gate called sustainability. And it speaks not only to this sexual intimacy or the emotional intimacy, but also to the energy that we use to create enduring bonds and legacies. So it has sort of this idea about letting our commitments in this energy time to be creative, to be relational, to be able to stand the test of time. Um, Sustainable, right? Sustainability is a big deal. And my favorite part of this whole thing in the human design aspect is where the earth is. The earth will be in the gate 55, which is, my dragonfly tattoo is all about the gate 55, which is about the spirit of abundance.
Mm,
It is the only place in human design where abundance in its truth lives. And it's not on the sacral center where we do, it is on the emotional center where we feel,
mm,
and we feel our connection to abundance. It's all around us, right? And we feel it and we tap into it and we create from an alignment with our higher divine selves. And we have faith. The quantum human design word for that earth is faith, that we are being supported,
mm.
that everything is happening for us not despite us, right?
Amen for that.
Amen. All right.
Oh gosh, 1 minute to go, and we probably ought to at least touch on Venus. We got the last week of August loaded with Venus transits, right?
Yes, it's almost like the salve to all of the
Yeah.
crazy,
Oh,
crunchy, weird stuff that's happened over the month.
good idea.
Um,
Pop up the chart here so they can see all the Venus
uh,
transits.
I did. There it is. Boom.
There it is. There's so Venus on the 25th, 26th,
27.
27th.
Uh, and the thing is, you see a lot of Venus transits, and you know that there's a lot of need for peace. Like there's been we've been jittered, we've been, kind of jangled and maybe stretched our edges during this whole of the month, and now we get these Venus things. Venus moves into Leo, a sign that she loves to be in, right?
Yes,
She's
yes.
beautiful here in her self-expression. She's creative. Then she's also in a trine to Saturn that same day, which means that the structures that we need to build, the form and the discipline is there, but Venus is beautifying and harmonizing and playing nice here. Then the next day she's sextile Uranus and trine Neptune. So now we have some of the glamorizing of some of this change energy. Um, the putting the lipstick on the pig kind of thing, but maybe
Right.
it's not a pig. When you look in the mirror, it's your own beautiful face that you are able to see more clearly. But then she opposes Pluto on the 27th, and that's a touchy one.
Mm,
Right? Pluto's empowerment and transformation and death and rebirth. I mean, there's, changes perhaps going on in your relationships, maybe due to your own inner self being emerging in its own glory, right? And how
sure,
that might pressure your relationships.
sure.
But still, altogether, making it a beautiful week. And I
Yeah.
think the telling tale here is on August 29th when the new Human Design Week begins with the Sun in the gate 29, which is called the Gate of Commitment.
Ooh,
What are you going to choose to be devoted to as you move forward? And the earth telling you it better be what you're passionate about, better
no,
be what you love, it better be heart centered. And that is a beautiful energy to leave the month with.
yes. Oh, I love that as a closing feature for the month of August because it does
Yeah.
sound a little drama filled. It does indeed, and you are perfectly well equipped to handle it. I assure all of you that you're all. And hey, and if you're not equipped, call Janet.
Or call Tam.
Okay,
Call us.
call
Write
Tam.
to us. I think the thing to remember through all of this is that, you're being called to become your true empowered self.
Yeah.
And the more you live a lie or live in the mask, the
Right.
harder it will be to keep that mask in place. And
Hmm.
that's where the tension will build. So remove the mask freely, willingly, be
Hmm.
your authentic self, and then be rewarded with that at the end of the month with your devotion to what it is that you're passionate about. And that being the driver of joy and love and hope and faith and peace and love and all of that good stuff.
I love it. That's really
Yeah.
good. I know that I've seen it show up in my coaching practice with clients who are like, but I don't know what they'll think. I hear that a lot. Oh, well, if I do that, they're gonna, and I'm saying, wait a minute, hold on.
Throw that out the window. Who cares
Yeah,
what they think?
who cares? Devote
Be-
yourself to you, your needs, your growth, who you really are authentically. I think it's
Yeah.
so important.
Yeah. Because you're worrying about what other people will think keeps your mask
In
in
place.
place.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Break out of that. Throw it away. Burn it.
Burn it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me this morning, Tam. It's always a treat to have you with me and for us to have this discussion about the energies that are coming up. And thank you all for joining us this morning. It was great to see all of you. And get your energy almanac. We're gearing up for the launch of the 2627 book. And that is an exciting process that I've been involved with more deeply this year. And it's been, I want to say it's been fun because it has, but it's also been very challenging. But it is so worth it in the end product that we will present to you guys very shortly.
Yeah. you'll be hearing a lot from Janet and I during August about the pre-sale of the Energy Almanac, which should begin September 1st, pending how everything goes. But what a pleasure it is to work with Janet so closely. And I see her smiling as she says she's working with the Energy Almanac. So let's all encourage that.
Because it wasn't that way in the beginning. Oh, dear God. Okay, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll see you next month, which looks like September, or it will be August 27th.
8/27. That sounds
when we'll
good.
talk about September. So
happy August, everybody. Bye
take
for
care.
now.
Bye for now.